Hello there my music lovers, I'm Josh Audiophile Heaven and today we are having a look at HIDIZS DH80. This is a $140 DAC/headphone amplifier which also has balance mode. It can be found at pre-sale or it may go on sale quite often for $110. So this is a very interesting thing. This has MQA, DSD, high resolution decoding and a pretty good driving power. It would actually be able to power Sennheiser HD800, although it won't be quite the thing if you have low efficiency planar magnetic headphones. The unboxing is actually quite simple. You just get the DAC and you also get this cable which is from type A to type C and another adapter from type A to type C. So you can use this cable for computers. That would be my guess. So the overall thing about this unit is that while it is sounding pretty good, it actually has a pretty good sonic performance. I actually have a few gripes with its overall usage. It is not ideal, it is not perfect, and at this moment I am not quite sure how I would recommend it. So let's start with the physical unit. This is the gold color, it is golden, this is the golden unit. But the unit itself is quite nice. It has a gain switch which I actually left on high, and I can't really see anyone using it on low gain because even at high gain it is quite okay. The unit has its own dedicated volume buttons, but I keep those at max and prefer to use the smartphone for volume adjustments. It just seems simpler to me that way, although using its own volume buttons may result in a slightly cleaner and better sound. I wouldn't really stress using those. I prefer using the volume from my smartphone. It has an on-off switch. It has every single output and the LED for function at the bottom, and this is my main grip with it. So basically we have a 4.4mm balanced output which can output a ton of driving power for a device at $110. You have a 3.5mm single-ended jack, you have a Type-C input and a LED to show whether it is working or not. Okay, so everything so far seemed pretty cool, right? So you have this thing, you basically take your smartphone, you plug it in like this, and you have a pretty nifty looking thing, right? So you could keep this on your desk. That is the main thing. You can't actually use it this way. You basically have to either rest your phone with face down or rest it like this and put some pressure on the Type-C connector. You see this thing happening here. The main thing about this is that it is made for HIDIZS EP80. With that one it is perfect. If you don't have the HIDIZS EP80, it still works with pretty much every single other Android device, but it just doesn't make that ideal of a solution. So besides the thing that you can't really use it, even if you wanted to rest it like this, standing upright, you can't really access the ports on the bottom, and you actually are going to usually leave it like this. So you will have your phone like this, or you would use something like rubber straps to strap your smartphone to it, and in the end the whole solution is not quite as nifty as it looks. There is one version, the DH80S if I'm not mistaken, and that one can be used with cable connectors and doesn't have this lip here, and that is much better. Just go for that one, just don't go for this one, because I can see a ton of people breaking their Type-C connectors and then complaining that the product isn't working as intended. To HIDIZS help, I do think that it is working as intended, but it is not intended for all smartphones. The version for every single other Android device is the one without this lip. This one is for HIDIZS EP80. I actually don't have the golden version from HIDIZS EP80. The color doesn't match with this one, so I decided not to include it because it looked pretty bad. This unit is a pretty good idea, but it still has a few steps to make to becoming the thing it is supposed to be. The main thing about it is that it supports MQA, so you know that it is going to sound pretty good. It has an ASS chip, and you would expect that to sound pretty bright or pretty cold or pretty analytical, but that is not the case. This is a smoother, musical, romantic kind of sounding DAC/headphone amplifier. It is very beautiful in its sound actually. I love the sound. The sound is so musical. It has a thicker, somewhat darker presentation to the bass. The bass is quite uplifted, especially there is some thickness added to each musical note. There is good weight in each musical note. The bass has excellent impact and excellent depth. On the other hand, the mid-range is smooth. It doesn't really have that upper mid-range bite that I tend to enjoy. So for rock and for EDM and for metal, it is a bit smoother than my reference and my ideal tuning. The treble is smooth. It has a nice blend of fatigue-free treble, but but it lacks engagement and it lacks punch and bite. So if you want one of those more bitey type of DACs, this is not going to be it. But if you are looking to relax after a long day, the HIDIZS DH80 is quite ideal. The sound kind of complements the aesthetic of golden unit. I mean, it sounds exactly as I would have expected it to sound by looking at it. It sounds quite different from what you'd expect it to sound like if you read the characteristics and specifications. It doesn't really sound like the DAC that is inside. So as always, please remember, the implementation is much more important than the DAC itself. It is how it is implemented, not what chip is being used, because some of the most expensive things in the world, some of the best DACs in the entire world, like the analog audio AA DAC, are still using ESS chips, and they don't really need to reinvent the DAC, they just need to implement it well. Don't ever judge a whole unit by the DAC chip used. For the comparisons part, I would compare it to the HIDIZS EP80 Pro, because I did review the EP80 Pro, and I do think that the DH80 sounds a bit better, a bit stronger with more punch, more bass, but at the same time the treble is considerably smoother, and you actually need something with MSEB or Magic 8 Ball equalizer to actually take full advantage of it, because it doesn't really sound neutral, and it colors the sound. It makes the sound quite heavy, quite thick, quite smooth, and compared to it, I do think that the HIDIZS EP80 was more linear, more balanced, and it had a more even overall sound. So HIDIZS DH80 is a great idea, but compared to the EP80 Pro, which is the DAP it is supposed to pair with, it adds driving power, it adds some functionality, it adds a bit of detail, but at the same time it takes some of the bite out of the sound and it takes some of that impact out of the sound. So you really need to consider what is more important to you, a fatigue-free sound, a smooth sound, or do you actually prefer a bit more bite? As far as the pairing with headphones goes, I used the DAC Blue. I love this headphone. It is a very comfortable, very strong and punchy headphone. And with the DAC Blue, I actually noticed that the HIDIZS DH80 has a beautiful sound, but once again, this is not a very bright headphone, and the smoother sound of the DH80 makes itself felt. You feel the fact that you need more treble, you want more sparkle, you want more bite, and this is where I actually prefer the original AP80 Pro, but neither this, so neither the DH80 or the AP80 Pro doesn't have quite enough power for the DAC Blue. Where I'm trying to go with this is recommending you to consider the power requirements. For something like the Ultrason Signature DXP, it is more than enough. For something like the HIDIZS LCD2 Classic, it is borderline. It depends on how loud you like to listen. It can be used with computers too, so you have that, but at the same time it would make a very complicated usage scenario. So I tried to do that and I actually kind of failed, because you would need the Type-C mother port, as far as I understand, because the one on the bottom is just power, or at least I did not manage to get it recognized. That makes it a bit less of a desktop and more of a portable DAC/headphone amplifier, so it has a very specific usage scenario. The other unit, the one that doesn't have this lip, doesn't have any of those issues. It is perfect for using with your computer, with your smartphone. It is just perfect. The other unit is actually perfect. So this one, the one with the lip, actually has a very specific usage scenario in mind. So I do hope that they make limited run of those. I do hope that they don't make the same stock of both, because this one really relies on you having the EP80 Pro in the first place. If you don't have the EP80 Pro, matching this with any other DAP is going to be a hit and miss, and I didn't really manage to match it with any other DAP. In theory, it would work with anything, so even something like the Lotto Pro 6000 is supposed to fit with it, and it would theoretically match, but as you can see, it doesn't quite. So the Lotto Pro 6000 is a bit too thick in the back to fit inside it. So once again, matching with any other DAP besides HIDIZS DAPs is going to be quite an adventure. I found that no DAPs and no smartphones would work with the cases on, because this part here, for example, this is the Shenling M3X, this part here at the bottom is going to be too thick to allow for you to insert this. So even if you are using the HIDIZS AP80 Pro, you will need to remove the case before using this. It is going to be quite a thick unit and something to hold in your hand, so chances of dropping it are going to be quite lower, because I imagine you would be taking care of it. You can also glue the DAP to it to make sure it doesn't fall out. Once you remove the case from the Shenling M3X, it still does not hit. It is too thick in the back, so it is mainly either for smartphones or for HIDIZS own AP80 Pro or AP80. Both of them would work. At the end of this review, I don't want you to get the idea that I am doing a negative review. I'm just trying to give you a very straightforward, neutral and honest review about the DH80. It is a perfect unit if you have the AP80 or the AP80 Pro and want a smoother sound, or if you want a stronger sound with more punch, more detail, more dynamics. It is impeccably in sound. It is perfect in terms of sound. I love the overall detail, dynamic. It has a huge soundstage. I have no idea why or how, but the soundstage is quite huge. And I actually would recommend this to upgrade from your typical AP80 or AP80 Pro if you want a smoother sound, if you want more punch. It is just good sounding. The thing I'm trying to recommend to you is consider whether you need the DH80 or the S version that doesn't have this lip. And both of them are going to have a pretty good battery life of 6 hours on balanced or 8 hours in single-ended mode. And that is a good average, because this is what I've been noticing using them at almost maximum driving power with power-hungry headphones. At the end of the day, they aren't that power-hungry, because if you are going to use EMs or something that eats less, they are going to survive a bit longer. And I like the fact that HIDIZS is reserved with the ratings. I don't really like when a company says it is going to last 12 hours, but only if you use MP3 files and listen at minimum volume. Yeah, that is not going to be true. I need it to survive at maximum volume. I need it with FLAC files or even MQA if you use Tidal. I need it to survive in my usage scenario. And I want companies to take note on this. They should make those survive in good conditions, and they shouldn't give higher ratings than expected. IBESO DX220 is a very good example of this, because IBESO actually states very honest, true-to-life answers. For example, with the most power-hungry modules like AMP9 or AMP7, it is going to last between 6 and 8 hours. And that is true at maximum volume, with everything going on, with FLAC files, with high-resolution files. That is still true. While this one is going to survive 6 hours on balanced and 8 hours in single-ended modes with actual real-life usage scenarios. At the end of today's review, I do think that this is a good unit. I do think that it sounds quite good. I do think it has a very good driving power, but I do think, and I urge you to consider getting the DH80S version rather than the DH80. The DH80 is made just for one purpose: combining with the AP80 or the AP80 Pro DAPs. The DH80S is perfect for everything from your smartphone to your computer to any other DAP, any other transport you can think of. So just consider if you want this little lip here or if you want the original version. I hope that this video has been enjoyable to watch. I hope you'll consider subscribing to Audiophile Heaven. Also leave a like on this video if you enjoyed the video. Also don't forget to donate if I've been a help to you or if you like my content. I thank you for watching. I hope you have the loveliest of weeks in there, and I hope we'll see each other really soon. Bye bye.